Alright, man, peace. It's Bronzebird here with another video, a small little chat. To give my opinion on a couple of things. So, across my screen or across my desk that I've been seeing for the last couple of days, us having our opinion about certain topics and conversations, especially about something as notable as the Passport Bros movement. And, much as throughout the same couple of years, men being able to come out the woodworks and say, hey, we need to have our own movement. We need to have our own say. We need to be able to express ourselves the best way we know how, virtually, because, what has been the main topic of conversation is that a lot of people see the society for what it is, a divide and conquer society where, men don't feel the same way when interacting with the opposite sex anymore. They want a woman. They want to be able to be in a relationship. They want to get married. They want to be able to live their best life and have the experiences, but yet it's upholded because of so many things that happen, especially on social media, especially about backlash and, saying that men do all these different things and we're running the mill and all these different things. Now, in my experiences, mainly looking at a space that is primarily catered towards so-called black men. I've also got to see the side of so-called white men and so-called Asians when it comes to this conversation, especially about men's movements. But I want to get to a point where I want to talk about primarily something as trivial as Passport Bros, and then I'll try to, make my reference into other men's movements after that. So, everybody knows the big ringleader right now of the Passport Bros movement, him being outed in Brazil and him being told don't come to Brazil and, don't do all that. Like the feminists got at him, apparently. That's the information that I had found out. But, my thing about it is this with Passport Bros. I am not against any man that wants to travel for his own right, his own freedom, his own happiness, even if that means that he wants to go across the world to find the woman that he's looking for. I mean, I'm not one to try to convince any man you need to stay in America to find a wife and, just deal with all of the things that come with being an American, especially an American man. That goes for any race. My only problem with Passport Bros has always been the same in the following. I think that Passport Bros need to broaden their horizons to what exactly they're looking for when they go out to different places out in the world. I don't think it should be based on trying to find a woman. That should be a key component if that's what your life entails, what you're looking for. But it also should be about trying to start a business out there and really realm in a way where you're winning financially. That's always been my speech about Passport Bros. I'm not against Passport Bros. I do understand that what comes with going to a different country or going to a different place also takes in the fact that there's going to be different cultures. So, of course, women being one of the things, one of the kind of like trophies you would have when you go out to, these different places, because you want to be able to have a woman that fits your needs as a man, feminine, friendly, able to get along with well, and there's no problems. But at the same time, brothers still have to remember there are definitely men of that country that do not agree with foreign men going to their country and targeting their women. That's just the name of the game. I mean, you got to be very careful where you go. I mean, I don't know how it is in America, but I especially it's well noted that I hear from a lot of men. They say, hey, don't take that foreign woman to America. Keep her in that country. You go over there and start a life out there. Also, the references about Western countries, not just America, UK, Australia, Canada, a couple other places and stuff like that. Those are the whole entire talking points I usually hear, especially with men that vouch for doing the whole entire Passport Bros. But this is also a thing that I have to mention, because it's not just about disgruntled women online or beyond online that's voicing their vitriolic type of spew towards men that decide to get their passports and say, hey, we need to go out of the country. I've said to men countless times on this app, stop talking about Western women. Once you get your passport and you've been to different places, make sure that you're relating your content and relating your whole entire message about the women you want to see. Even though it's kind of contradictory what I'm saying, because I'm saying to dudes, don't base all your content on women. Base yourself on elevating. Traveling is one point of elevating yourself. It's also a point of being able to see the opportunities you have when you go to a different country. I think certain dudes really fall behind when it comes to that topic of conversation. Hearing from Passport Bros reminds me of looking at shows like 90 Day Fiance, where they do talk to people overseas or in a different country, but it doesn't always mean that their outcome is glorious and well met. We've seen different episodes of guys that went on dates or, are trying their best to get a woman from another country. Even me frequently seeing so-called white men in particular that will go to countries like, let's say, like Thailand or, different Asian countries, for example, and want to get an Asian wife. And they strive off of getting an Asian wife. But that doesn't mean that that Asian wife is going to be this perfect match, feminine, friendly woman. They're going to have a lot of expectations, too, when it comes to what they look for in a man. And sometimes I feel like the rhetoric with Passport Bros is that they live in this Disney fantasy where they believe that if they automatically leave the United States of America, that when they go to another country, those women are going to be automatically feminine, going to have the lowest expectations for man. And I know that's not true, right? I advise especially so-called black men to get your passports, not because of women, but I think it is fair for black men to travel outside the country more, to look at different experiences, to be out of the states. Even still in this, I would advise men, some of these dudes talk crap, but they haven't traveled to another state a day in their life. They stay confined to one state and at the least only been to 2 to 3 states. Visit throughout the country, bro. That's something I've always said as well. But getting back to my point, I know that's not true, but moving on to the different topics as well, what I'm also starting to see with something like Passport Bros, where they are offering you different various degrees of conversation, because I'm not going to just down Passport Bros like that. I definitely do think there is some very admirable traits about the things that Passport Bros talk about. But at the same time, what I'm starting to notice is these men's movements, there is still the idea of pro-blackness coming into these men's movements, where you're starting to have fellow so-called black men critiquing and therefore deeming certain men's groups as disrespectful, especially towards so-called black women. They will even champion on black women that say very disrespectful things towards black men. And my feeling on that is, the whole entire idea of pro-blackness is dead. Pan-Africanism is dead. The thing about it is that the black man blew a conscience and grew a spine and figured that, he's not feeling appropriately loved by his own quote unquote community. So therefore, him having an opinion and being able to voice it, whether we see it as quote unquote toxic or we see it as one that deserves recognition, still to the point, a lot of you men out there are willing to uplift not only black women, but black men who stand for being fence sitters, disrespectful to other black men, and also people who believe in genocide of future generation of people. Such as say that it's not even about white supremacy anymore. It's about your own people standing up for controversial issues such as eugenics. And you men stand for that. So My whole entire point of making this brief video, this brief conversation, is that the complexity about movements such as Passport Bros, Manosphere, MGTOW, Ibmos or Igmores, I don't know how to pronounce it, is that this comes the awakening of a society where men are finally taking action on things that's been regularly ignored, sorry. And so the big pushback is that these men that try to counteract other men, or women that try to counteract the men's talking points, are doing so because these men are breaking the mold. I believe in men having men's movement, but I think it also needs to conspire themselves into having conversations where we're moving forward and we're elevating. Also having conversations on how we're going to move forward as men so that we shift the paradigm. Because all this propaganda that's going out here, future is female, and all of the different things that the left or so-called liberals are doing, is definitely to the demise of men. And they're doing this because they don't want men to be masculine men. They want men to conform into the things that they're putting forward. And the funny thing about it is a lot of these movements and a lot of these different things that's going on in their background that seems very demonic, and not only demonic, but also just against manhood, is comprised of men. Men are also in the background of these different movements, these different different little things that they're doing out here to go against man. So otherwise than that, this has just been a freestyle topic off the mind. Another thing I'll say is Passport Bros dead? And the thing about it is, I don't know where to shift that thing, because this is the second coming of a movement or an idea that's been stretched upon fellow man, where a lot of people just jump on the bandwagon because it's popular and it's something to talk about. Just like last year or the year before, we had the quote unquote high value man discussion, where a lot of men who's not necessarily high value men by the financial sense jumped on a bandwagon and called themselves high value men. Therefore, my opinion has always been satisfactory, and something I've always said. I don't believe in the concept of high value man, because that's something that's made up by somebody else. The original thought of man is, yes, we're noted for our resources, we're noted for our financial stability. But at the same time, to call yourself a high value man and you believing that you have to wear a suit in order to, again, attract women and get the validation of women, is where men go wrong in a society. Just like when it comes to Passport Bros, your whole entire extent to the most ways that we see fit, and unfortunately this is how it is, you guys are validating yourself for women. And I tell dudes again, that is a secondary thing that you should be worried about. The first thing you should be worried about is yourself. So, you get into the conversations about high value man, Passport Bros, and quote unquote pick-me's, which don't exist. All these terms that in real life wouldn't even pass a mold. Like, people wouldn't have these discussions if you was out in the street and you was with a coworker, or you're going to work every day or going somewhere. It wouldn't matter because it wouldn't exist. But at the same time, men's movements need to be heard. Men's movements need to exist. Also, with men's movements, we need to also get into therapy. Like I always say, get into the mental mode of man, because in this society we suffer a lot mentally, especially when we talk about the high deletion rates in this society. Us as men need a voice. So what I will say with that is, a lot of complexities that come out of this group is still trying to fight for validation, especially towards women. But I definitely want to say that even throughout these whole entire complexities and the nonsense that may be in these groups, I still voice my opinion that men should be able to have men's movements at the end of the day, whether it be on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever have you. But we also have to move the conversation elsewhere so that we can all elevate as men. And we have to realize this society is against us, but we need to do a better job of coming together as man, regardless of race, stature, financial status, whatever, and be able to move the conversation and be able to move in a way where we're actually making life better for ourselves. Until next time, peace.